Welcome to Enhancing the Human Experience. I'm Mark Phillips, and this is episode 63. On today's episode, I did a remote interview with Michelle Harris. Now, Michelle is a life coach with training in 3 different types of coaching, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But before we get into that, I just want to give you the backstory about how this interview came to be. One of the things that I do when I find an interesting article in a magazine that piques my interest, something I think I'll use down the road or refer to down the road, I clip it out and I file it away. And that's just what I did about 3 years ago when I ran across an article about Michelle in one of our local magazines. And one of the things, as I was reading through the article again and reminding myself about Michelle and her work, one of the things that interested me about this article and Michelle's background is the fact that she has experience in the real estate industry helping people design and build their dream homes. And in fact, one of the headlines on the article itself said, "Consider me your life architect. I'll help you design your dream life and unlock your destiny." And in fact, her business is called Unlock Your Destiny. So there was a lot going on here that really resonated with me. As you may know, I studied architecture in college. I loved the design industry. I worked in commercial design for about 15, 17 years-ish. And I really like applying design methodology and design thinking to our lives, right? And creating the tools that help us create a life that we love and a life that really has deep meaning and deep purpose for us. So I think there's a lot there. And unfortunately, one of the travesties is most people spend way more time designing their dream home or their dream vacation than they do designing their dream life. And I think that's something that we really have to work on. But as Michelle shares in her interview here, she uses each of those 3 different types of training with her clients to help them achieve optimal results. The 3 types of training that she is certified in is number 1, iPEC, which is the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching. Number 2, she is a Ziglar Legacy trainer, which she actually met Zig and was trained by Zig, and she talks about that experience in the interview. And last but not least, she's a John Maxwell trainer and speaker. And that is, of course, John C. Maxwell is big on leadership and has his whole body of work that's kind of built around that. And she talks about that as well. So we're really kind of getting 3 for 1 in today's interview. And I think you're going to really get a lot out of it. I know that I did. So let's get into the interview. All right, Michelle. Well, I really do appreciate you joining me today and learning more about what you do and your coaching business.
I just appreciate you having me, Mark. I'm just so glad to be here today.
Well, yes. This is, in a way, this is a long time coming. Remind me when was it Eagle Magazine that you did this article
Yes.
for? How long? What year was that? Do you recall?
Let's see. I would say 3 years ago.
Okay, that's about
Over
what I
3
figured.
years. Mm-hmm.
I actually just clipped the page because I thought, well, that's interesting. I'm going to save that. I clipped it. And so I don't have the actual magazine to see when it was, but that sounds about right.
Yes. Yep.
So you now, for those of you who don't, for those listeners who don't know you, why don't you tell us a little bit about your coaching business and what you do for your clients?
I will. I own a company called Unlock Your Destiny, and I do life coaching, business transition, actually all kinds of coaching. So I work with a select few of people, Mark, who are very serious about significant change in their life. So I help people that are functional go to optimal living.
Gotcha.
We all come to places where we're stuck. So I help people get unstuck.
Yeah, I really like that. And you've been doing this, how many years have you been in the coaching industry?
I've been almost 5 years now.
Okay, so you're well immersed in that field, it sounds like.
Yes.
Very nice. Now, So did you start your coaching business in Boise? Is that where you originated it?
I did. I started in Eagle and I had my business there for several years, and then I moved. Now I'm in California.
Okay, so I imagine you do quite a bit of long distance coaching via phone. Is that accurate?
I do. When I first opened my practice, it was interesting because, it was all face to face. And so it's really branched out to both now, which is really nice. I've really been able to hone my skills, and it's amazing how it works. Wonderful.
Well, and I'm seeing that from other people that I talk to in the industry and just the world in general, right? People can work from anywhere. What percentage of your current coaching clients, are phone versus in person?
I'd say it's about right down the middle.
Right down the middle. Do you find that some people want that face-to-face interaction and they absolutely won't talk via phone? Is that something that people do?
Yes, I've had a few clients saying, no, I want to be face to face. But what's been amazing is after they've had like 1, 2, 3 sessions, then they realize I could do this on the phone.
Yeah, because it's easier for them too, right?
Right. But sometimes they need that initial contact, and even understanding what coaching is and building that relationship and that trust, that safety. And after that couple sessions, and they're great. I can do this right from my office, my home.
I can imagine, yeah, because it does help to connect on an energetic level with someone and actually see them, doesn't it?
It does. Like, I'm a very face-to-face, touchy-feely, warm, fuzzy type of person, my personality. And I thought even it was stretching me at first, but actually it's amazing how your skill sets can just be just as dynamic, and you can see transformation with people over the phone.
Oh, so you had a little bit of a hurdle to get over in your own connection with people via phone.
I did, because it was new. But what I found out, what's so wonderful for a coach and the person that you're coaching, for your client, is that you actually, in some ways, instead of being face to face, it helps you train your mind to be so in the present, so intentional, and so focused, and learn how not to coaching tool I've added in.
So it helps you connect on a deeper level, it sounds like.
Yes.
That's so awesome. I love that. So talk about the transition, because I know you did a couple other things prior to being a coach. Talk about the transition. How did you get into coaching, and was it something you felt you always were called to do?
Yeah, that's a great question, Mark. I spent most of my career in real estate.
Did you?
And I did. I grew up in it with my mom, and I worked a lot of new home development projects. I helped people build their homes from ground up. Always had the entrepreneur spirit my whole life. I've always owned different businesses on the side because I've just been that entrepreneur my whole life. But when coaching came into my life, I'll tell you, it really started for me 20 years ago. I actually was on an airplane in the crossroads of my life heading over to Maui. And I took this boat ride, and I'll make it short, but I took a boat ride and I met this wonderful couple, and they took a liking to me. I took a liking to them, and it ended up being Zig Ziglar's daughter and son-in-law.
You're kidding.
and that just rocked my world and changed my life. They invited me back to Dallas, rolled the red carpet out for me. I got to meet Zig, went to his home, him and the redhead, and Zig became my first trainer and my first mentor that trained me a lot more on the positive thinking and training and being a trainer. So that's where a lot of it began for me. And then life continued to happen. And 20 years, well, then 15 years later, life is happening. I'm in Idaho. I opened up a teeth whitening business. I'm sure you read about it.
Yes, I did. Yes.
Yeah. And cosmetic teeth whitening, what a fun business that was. And it was kind of a platform for me. Just people coming in and want to improving their exterior. But really, that is not sustainable. It's wonderful to take care of ourselves and look great on the outside, or feeling our best. But what's sustainable is the inside out.
I see. So you wanted a deeper connection, a deeper helping of people, sounds like.
Yeah, and that's what everyone's looking for. People were coming in, but you knew that wasn't, it was wonderful, but people wanted something more, and people didn't have tools. And then this is so ironic. So then this is after the Zig Ziglar 20 years, 15 years later, I'm at that crossroads again. I get back on the airplane, I go back to Maui, and I sit next to a life coach.
So there's something going on with this Maui thing.
Yes, and there is. It rocked my world. And then I knew when I went through a couple different other coaching programs, John Maxwell, iPEC, Institute of Professional Excellence in Coaching, it changed. I knew I found my destiny. I knew I found my calling. I just became aligned. I found what I loved, my passion. I felt that whole serving part of me, I was just got in line with it.
So was there did you go through the Ziglar program, it sounds like, and do his training?
Yes,
And then there was a little
I
bit of a
did.
lag time then before you went through the iPEC. How many years was that?
Yeah, that was what was 50. Let's see if I was 27 Thursday. It was about 15. No, if I was 27, 13 years later.
Okay.
So when I met Zig and went through his training, I was a Zig Ziglar trainer, but I was in real estate that time. So I was using all those skills. I owned a different business then. And, but then it was interesting that was kind of calling me then, but then life happened. I stayed with my real estate.
Oh,
and it's amazing.
That's what I was going to ask you. Yeah. So it sounds like the universe has bumped you 2 or 3 times where you need to be, but you kind of didn't take the hint a couple times. Is that accurate?
Yeah, or maybe it just wasn't the right timing. But yeah, I think that could be it too. I didn't listen because if I would have, I think I listened to a certain degree, but I think it prepared me. Like all this time now in my life, I've been through so many things, and it's just gathering tools, right? And then gathering information, experiences that make you, just have a little bit more wisdom and empathy. You've walked through stuff.
Yeah.
You've been,
Well, and sometimes, just the course of life, it isn't the right time for us to make certain moves, but it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't mean it's not going to happen eventually. Everything happens in the right way, doesn't it?
It sure does, especially when we kind of acceptance is huge.
Oh, totally. Absolutely. And that's one thing I find interesting about you. And I want to dive into each of these different areas, and maybe you can draw some contrast between the John Maxwell, the Zig, and the iPEC. That's a full bag of tools. Do you have a favorite one, or do you use them at the right time and with the right person? How do you integrate them all?
It's interesting. As I've honed my skills over the years, you're always on your client's agenda, but I really let intuition. I use all the tools, but each person, it is a little bit different. I have so many favorites. John Maxwell is a wonderful, leadership program. It's amazing. iPEC, they're all with different words. iPEC is so solution focused, and then we hold our own resources. And Zig Ziglar is so much attitude. So when you combine all of those, but it all, really just shows up whenever I'm in a session. It's, it's that kind of divine thing that happens during a session with somebody.
Well, and I imagine that, having the deep knowledge in each of those areas, that you are probably kind of integrating and innovating with those tools and creating your own kind of mix. Is that safe to say?
Yes, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head.
That's got to be exciting. That's got to be very exciting.
It's so exciting to see people's transformation too. And when you, just my own life of what's transformed in my own life, but when you see other people transform and you introduce tools to people and let them think about it, and they come up with their own answers and they have their aha moments and just their life changes. It's remarkable. Oh,
I can imagine. To see people go to that new level of awareness and expansion's got to be just a super thrill, I can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, let's see here. What are some go-to tools that you've found? We're all human beings, and we all are kind of, I think, on the same path of going to the same place ultimately. What are some tools that you've found work repeatedly well with people in your coaching?
I do something called the 7 levels of leadership.
Okay.
And I have found that when you call the leader, because we're all leaders, it has nothing to do with position. We are all a leader. And when you call out the leadership in people, I have found in teaching and showing people how do you lead your life, and how do you want to lead your life? Because that question alone, a lot of people, they haven't even thought about it. How am I leading my life? How do I show up wherever I go? That has been a huge, powerful tool, because when I work with my clients, when they learn these different levels of energy and how we show up, we can talk about a victim role, or we can talk about taking responsibility role, all these different roles. But when you become aware of it and you're more conscious, of that and awareness of like, who am I? And I'm getting intentional about my thoughts and how I show up throughout the day, and teaching these skills to become habitual in your life. Even when things are great and you're on your mountaintops, because life is full of mountaintops, but to get to those mountaintops, we go through we can be in a valley too. It's valley, mountaintop, valley, mountaintop. And I have found that when I've worked with people that are showing them, hey, how do you want to lead? And when something goes wrong in their life, when they're triggered and they go to that victim, still, that you are still responsible. And what do you choose to do? How do you want to lead? That has been so powerful when people have that awareness and amazement, or what would the word be? That revelation of, wow, okay, things aren't going my way, but I'm still at choice on how I'm going to choose to show up.
I love that. So it almost sounds like you're giving them this universal principle they can apply to any challenge or situation in their life.
Anything. And Mark, because you're so in the same, of seeking and being conscious and the universe and all that, we're not taught this. We are not taught these things. And it's amazing. I've, coached every walk of life, and it's amazing how it's stuff that some of us already know inside us, some fundamentals, but when you actually present it to somebody and they apply it in their life,
yeah,
it rocks.
It does. It's an ecstatic feeling. And that's one of the reasons why I started the podcast and do what I do, is like you just said, because we're really not taught this in schools. And going back to the victim mode, I try not to dwell in that, well, why aren't we? Why this, why that? I get past that really quickly and just start sharing the knowledge that like you share. And we really need this stuff. It's like foundational to, everything in life.
Oh, it's huge, because what we grow up, and if you want to talk about consciousness, we all have these different things of what consciousness is. But, I teach consciousness is who you really are opposed to who you were taught you were.
Yeah, I love that.
And when you shift your operating system on who, what, or why, and how you do things, people look at their whole lives and go, wow, I've been living my whole life like that, and that's not really even who I am. So teaching them how they can get aligned with the truth of who they are.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I think about that quite often. In conjunction with that, my latest thing is asking this question of, who will I be when I die, quite frankly, right? What will I shed off and then be totally free to do whatever I'm meant to do, right? Just like you said. I love that idea.
Everyone has, and I'm so passionate, and I'm a firm believer in that every single person on the universe has a unique gift and a purpose. And I feel called to help pull that out of each individual. So whichever clients are sent to me, I am committed and dedicated, passionate about helping them see that. And when people realize what their purpose is and they can get aligned with it and live less in the victim, like you said, we visit it, we're human. But 85% of people, a lot of people are living in this victim conflict area of their life. And if one by one we can go out and help people shift out and learn that can be a pit stop. It does not have to be where we reside. It's not where we're meant to reside. That's kind of like, almost want to say, that's the dark, it's kind of the snare that keeps us not in our fullest potential of what we're called to do.
I love that a lot. Yeah. And there does seem to be this, that's just kind of the way the world kind of goes about, is like you said, this 85% of the people and the time are just living in this kind of bogged down, like a limited existence. And it seems.
Right. It's limited. Right. And that's by people's limited beliefs.
Yeah. It's actually so exciting just to have that realization, isn't it? I'm so excited because it changed my life when I was stuck, through the journeys of life. And I've been through, some trying times myself, and I'm coming out of some right now. But when you have these tools that you can, retrieve, I call it my toolbox, and just, what do I need right now? And then just kind of almost call myself out to shift my own energy. Wow. Yeah. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because I wanted to ask you, given your span of years as a coach, what type of tools did you used to use versus what you currently use? Can you contrast that and talk about the evolution of the tools you have now? Because I'm sure they're much more advanced than when you first started either coaching and or life.
I think, I was always a positive person, and I did have that positive thinking, but I just didn't have these. You need more than just the positive thinking, right? Everything is our thoughts. So it's huge. Our core thoughts, that triggers our emotions, and then we get our results in life. But I just had that positive. But when I actually started learning and getting trained in these breaking down applicable, that I could applicable tools that really is changing your thoughts, it just was powerful for me. I think what happened for me too was I was a lot of a victim in my past years. And when I learned, oh my gosh, I was not taught that. I just didn't have that. Like, I thought this is just life. I wasn't given those tools that, wow, I can go out and create something different. That is not the truth. So there's a difference between true and truth, right? They don't teach that either.
No.
So I think I just was lacking, even though I was a positive person, I think I was a very motivated person. I was very hardworking and I loved people. It was innate in me. I just didn't have things that were tangible. And I was that visual, tangible learner. And when I got these coaching tools, I knew for me that there was nothing that could come my way. The storms are coming and they keep coming, but it's how do we get victories in life? We have to go through something to get a victory instead of throwing in the towel and giving up. Life happens and people just give up.
Yeah.
And they don't have the tools. So I think I just relied on, I have a very strong faith and I was always positive, but the actual tools that I've gotten in the coaching and I'm trying to make clear for you, it was so applicable for me now. It's so and my thoughts. When I learned, when I got consistent on changing my thoughts, we have muscles in our brain. And the more I did it daily, Mark, it became habitual. So it's easy for me. I will say this. When I get hit and I trigger down, I'm not there long. I am so in a habitual habit for me that my mind knows not to stay anymore. I don't have to work nearly as hard. It's become second nature.
I love that. And I love the fact that you equate it to a muscle too. And so when you were first starting out, sounds like it was a little more of a challenge to get that positive thought back. Is that accurate?
Well, not when I started my coaching, but when I went through the coaching program, actually it was iPEC. When I went through iPEC, I was going through some really hard times myself. Like I was not happy in my life. And I was going through for me, that was there for me. And that's the beauty about coaching. Being a good coach is you got to be transforming your own life. And when I was there and the aha moments I had, and the reframing, when I would say, gosh, this just isn't working out for me. And I'm, when I would be talking about certain personal issues in my life, how I was trained to reframe that. You can reframe your whole life.
Yeah. Well, that you're right. That's one of the benefits of doing this type of work is it's a win-win. We get the benefit, right? And the world gets the benefit of us sharing that. I in so many times, so many careers out there seem like one-sided. That's like just the customer or just the client, whereas maybe the person is a little bit empty and there's not a lot of meaning. But I can totally relate to what you're saying about doing it for yourself and other people.
Yeah. And because I'm learning every day, and every client I have, they're coaching me and they don't even know it.
Yeah.
That's what's the beauty of what you're saying. You're just like, wow, because that's the way the universe works, right? You get a line, every client I get, they have no idea what they're talking about. I'm either in the middle of it myself or I've been through it. So, and you want to, it's so true. And I'm so committed and passionate about walking the talk because this stuff works. You know what I mean?
Well, you've seen evidence. Yeah. And once you see, that's what I think. I think that a lot of people don't have the faith because they haven't seen the actual evidence, or at least they haven't connected the dot, right? Once you connect the dot, like you say, you're sold, right? And you can always turn it around by your thinking.
It's so powerful.
It's very powerful. And sometimes it seems like, I'm speaking partially of myself and also other people. Sometimes we've got to be shown 2 or 3 times before we're like, wow, okay, I finally, because it has to get through this, the thick skulls of us in some ways, that it does work.
Right.
I love that.
And I don't coach everybody that walks in for a discovery session. I coach people that are really serious about change. You have to be ready, right? You have to be open and ready. And I will say this, when people are open and they're ready, because it is the hardest work you ever do.
Yes.
When you're first, it's the hard mental work. Because I tell all my clients, you're going to be doing all the work. But then it's the best work you could possibly do. Because when you don't realize that your thoughts, that if you are in low energy in that victim or conflict, and I know many coaches use different words, but if you are in residing there, you are releasing. That's called catabolic energy. And you are releasing so much cortisol in your system that anxiety, depression, stuck, just lethargy, everything, defiance in your life. This is what you're actually changing your body chemistry. And so when you learn tools that thoughts can change me out of catabolic to anabolic, where you actually release the healthy hormone and the vibrancy and healing of cells and solution focused, you change that whole way of your thinking, changes actually your feeling of how your body feels and your health.
Wow. Yeah, that is a lot to wrap your mind around. Sometimes it's huge.
Yeah.
I love what you said about the fact that some people maybe don't know how rewarding it is. They just see the difficulty because, as you know, it can be challenging, right? But they don't see the reward on the other side
right.
of the. What are some ways that you get people to actually get past that? Oh, it's so hard. I never want to change. What do you do?
I think it's really probing people. I think a lot of good questions when you get inside people, because a lot of people don't want to change because of fear, right? They have fear based, and they think they can't do it, or they haven't. They have a lot of. If we are very catabolic, which may be more in the conflict, internal anger kind of place instead of the victim so much, those people, I have found through coaching people for several months, it's all come down to whatever they come in. It might be a business coaching or relationship or their life, whatever it is, all comes down always to the same thing, really, and about their inner self and their inner core. So core energy coaching, what I do is helping people see that is what they're doing, this catabolic energy, is that working for them or isn't it?
I like that.
And if it's working for them, because I have no judgment, I'm a coach and I teach non-judgment's the way to go, because judgment's catabolic. If I help them see, if that's working for you, then hey, basically bless you, then but it's not working for them.
Right.
That's why they're here. Right. So once they realize it and you challenge them, what do you want to do different? What can you do different? I don't have their answers for them. I come alongside with tools, a level playing field, and champion them and have the tools to help teach them. They have their own answers on what they really want to do. And getting inside somebody, it always works. It's 100%. I mean, I guarantee my coaching, because sometimes it takes a little bit longer. Everyone's in a different place, but everyone deep down inside wants to be comfortable in their own skin, living their potential, and their inside desires and dreams. They want so bad to align it with their exterior.
Yeah, it's like the human drive, right? Everyone has that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But some people just think they're so stuck, right? But when they get some tools and these aha moments, and a lot of that too, a whole another subject goes down to forgiveness too.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that's another powerful thing in the human experience. Mm-hmm. Do you find that most people, like back to your point when you mentioned some people come to you and they're like, hey, things are working for the most part, I just want some fine tuning. Do you find people come to you when life or after life has really slapped them down? Or do you find people coming to you periodically that are like, I just need a little help here and there?
I've had both. So, and that's why I'm really clear on my words. I work with functional people because I believe, we're all functional and want to be optimal. We hit things in our lives that come along, right? Either downhill habits or we're stuck in something, and we just don't have the tools to get through it. But I will say this, no matter what they come for, wherever they're at, if they're totally down in that valley or they just need that fine tuning, whatever they come from, it always comes back to something that, I guess, how do I say it? There's not a different level of, let's see. I will say this, that they, It's usually every time someone comes in, I guess I'll say this, Mark, sorry. If they come in, it's never what they come in for. Never. It's never. It's never that. If someone comes in, my life's great, I'm rocking, I got my business going, my home life's great, but I just need a little this or a little that. It's never that.
I love that.
Or when they come in really down and it's never that. Like, I'm broken now, I'm stuck, I'm so upset, I just got to get through this relationship, or I just can't, I don't know how to do whatever. It's really not that. Mm-hmm. It never really is that.
There's some deeper thing going on that they're just not aware of.
Yes. Right. Even though it's real, that I'm not diminishing that those things aren't happening to them.
Right.
But it always goes to something else.
Well, and that I'm glad you said that, because that's so common. It seems like, we look at like the effect of what's happening to us, and we think, well, that's what's happening, and there's a deeper cause that we're not aware of. So you find you need to kind of show them that cause and say, well, what about this, huh?
Right. And that's true. Something I love you just said too, because I like to say that, are we at the cause of our life or at the effects of it?
Yeah, I think about that quite often. Whereas when you're in, like you mentioned, if you're in a victim mentality, everything's just happening to you, right? There's no cause, or the cause is outside of yourself.
Right. And you're just making decisions out of being unconscious and no faith and needy. And, you're not, and when you're taught that tool, wow, I'm in victim mode, and you become aware of that, guess what happens now? When you're learning, wow, maybe it's not the best time for me to make all these big decisions. I got to shift my energy. I've got to get some more tools here to take responsibility, get my thoughts into responsibility.
Yeah,
it doesn't
a big
diminish.
Responsibility.
It is, and it doesn't diminish. Like, we're taught to, regardless of what we're going through, good, bad, or different, or we are a true victim in something. I'm not diminishing that, but we still are at choice on how we can take responsibility, have forgiveness, and begin to cooperate with our life.
It's such a good point. Because like, if we are in that victim mode, like, that seed has been sown prior, right? And we now have to bear that fruit in some way, don't we?
It's so true. It's so true. And when you have the tools to go, I don't have to do this anymore. I choose not to do this anymore. That's the difference. That I'm at choice. And we're not taught that. We're taught a lot of I need, and I have to, and should, instead of this is what I choose to do. I want to do this. Those are even words that can be anabolic and catabolic. And when I say anabolic and catabolic, anabolic is solution focused, moving forward. Catabolic leaves us stuck.
Okay, I'm glad you defined that, because I think that's a new way to look at people are in certain situations. So, because those are those physiological terms? Is that where you're drawing those from?
Yeah, and there's real science behind it. When we are thinking in that catabolic energy, which is negative, when we're in victim, say, or we're in conflict, that causes, we release cortisol into our system. So we have cortisol, but if we're constant releasing or living there, that's not healthy for us.
I can imagine not. Yeah.
Right? So cortisol is for when the bear's chasing us down the street, basically, right? It's that fight or flight. But if we're living in that internal anger or that victim mode, we're releasing cortisol. Causes. That's why a lot of people are, getting diagnosed depressed, that they're not, which is sad in our society today too, because they just don't have the tools that they can change their thoughts, which will change their life.
Yeah. So they may be prescribed a medication to lower those cortisols instead of just it's a bunch of thought tools, right?
It's powerful. I worked with, in Boise, I worked with a lot of therapists, and I had referrals from psychiatrists who would be calling saying they're getting the best results after coaching.
Wow.
And I say that humbly. Because they did it themselves, right? I was just there championing them, and they were open. And when they could start changing their thoughts, because, when we're trained that victim is where we're residing in this internal conflict, we're staying stuck, living a mediocre life, and we just believe our belief system is that this is just my life.
Yeah, and then till we see a different way and a different perspective, right? Well, I'd love for you to share some of. For me, I kind of see it as something we have to maybe practice and renew ongoing. I don't know if that's your perspective. But I'd love for you to share.
Oh, yes.
Can you share some of the daily things that you do in order to keep your thoughts positive and tuned in and high vibration, either physically or mentally?
Yes.
Some of the rituals you have. I'd love to know it.
Well, for me, if I don't start my day, I'm faith-based, so either meditation or prayer, but if I start my day every day with that. I also, before I go out the door, I review everything I teach in my coaching for myself.
Yeah.
And so that those things are important to me. And if I'm human, so if I run out the door and it's a chaotic morning and I forget to center myself, it's important to stay plugged in. It's like, I loved what Zig used to say, because people used to say motivation wears off. Yes, it does. It's like a shower. You need it daily.
Yeah, I love it. I love that one.
Yeah, but some of this stuff is, sometimes you think, oh, they're just platitudes, but when you really internalize and you take it in, this is powerful stuff. So what we do daily affects our outcomes. So I get up, I also have, you guys might think this is silly, but I have a, remind me the name of the marker. I want to say Sharpie, but the one that erases. I have one of those.
The dry, not the dry erase, do you?
Yeah, dry erase. I have the dry erase marker in my bathroom.
Oh, I have one there too.
Yes, I write out my mirror.
Yeah.
And I want to constantly be filling myself. So I go through my own tools, my skill sets, what I trained in my coaching, but I do it for myself. And prayer is very important to me. I really believe that there's more power in the faith than the proof, because sometimes we are looking for so much proof. And a lot of times it's in the faith. So that's something, those are important things to me. And I take my tools and I review my tools. I remind myself wherever I am, if I wake up and it's a rough day, or I'm out and I tell myself it's going to be a great day, regardless of what happens.
I love that.
See, because I'm still leading my life. So we're a choice. So I am always on myself. Where am I right now when I'm driving my daughter to school and a turkey flies in and hits the hood of my car?
Oh my gosh.
I know. I got to throw some humor in. But at the same time, right, is that going to ruin my day or go, okay?
Right.
No, just... but sometimes you watch people, right? And we get catabolic, which is that negative energy. Oh my gosh, something just hit my car, and you could just let that change your whole day and be uptight about it.
Sure.
So it's
and it sounds like if you get your energy and your thinking really, really high vibration to start the day.
Yes.
If the turkey hits the car, it's going to maybe lower it a little bit, but it's not going to go negative.
No, because you're going to find the opportunity in it. Yes, it's a bummer. Nobody wants to hit anything. I don't.
It's never an ideal situation, right?
No, but these tools are so amazing when you have them, and you can almost just kind of roar through life, even when things are really hard. Because, Mark, I've been through some really hard, the last 2 years were real challenging for me. I went through a divorce, and I also, last year was given an antibiotic that attacked my whole central nervous system.
Yes, you mentioned that. So and it sounds like you're on the uphill slide from that then, pulling out of that. Is that?
I am pulling out of it. But when it happened for me, I was not walking. It had attacked my whole entire body. So I had, tendonitis through my whole body. I had neuropathy in my hands and feet. I couldn't move my arms, 40% of my eyesight in my right eye. And it was excruciating pain. And that's just when I was on my mountaintop, right? It was just coming out of my doors, and I was on my mountaintop, my coaching, my kids, everything and boom. And I fell down. I call it falling down, almost to fatality. So facing that was a whole other big thing in my life. But at the same time, I had tools and had my faith to say, okay, now I could have been total victim mode.
And so you just started working the tools on a daily basis, I'm assuming.
Yeah. And I still showed up, but I could barely move to coach clients. I just, and they were like, why are you showing up? And I'm like, I'm here for you. But even though it was for me too, but I was there for them because I wanted to be one of my word, and I was committed. I find that's really important. I pride myself on that, to make my yeses, yes, my no's, and to do what I say I'm going to do.
Wow.
But it was tough times. It hasn't been easy. I'm still in recovery. So, but that's just to encourage that, I don't know, people are going through divorces, they've got money issues, they have health issues. There's all these challenges that get thrown at us, and we get blindsided by them.
Yeah.
But the amazing gift in them is there is growth in them. And I don't diminish, because I had some really, really hard days of crying and just wondering what was going to happen with my life. But the tools and the faith, I mean, I've been able to walk through it and use this. And now I have another message to go help other people about certain things we probably shouldn't be taking that aren't good for our bodies,
Yeah. Well,
like this antibiotic.
Yeah, and that's a whole other topic, like the modern medicine kind of working against us, right, in many ways.
Right. Yes.
But plus going through those difficult times, they like you said, they fortify your faith, and actually you come out stronger, don't you?
Yes. I mean, it is. And that's why I really, through life, that's why I talk about victories only come when we walk through something. And the beauty is when you have tools and faith to walk through something. Because we bought in, society's buying in that when hard things happen, people are just giving up or whatever they're doing, getting into addictions or whatever, they're self-sabotaging their life.
Right.
And I really, big thing and motto in my coaching is, how do we do hard things well? How do we do hard things well? And how do you want to do hard things well? And then people are like, wow, doing hard things well? How do you do that?
I love
there's
that.
tools to do it.
I love that because, there are, we see people in the world, and sometimes it's us, right, that get knocked down and sometimes you don't want to get up, but you're like, well, what other choice have I got? I know what's back there if I don't get up, right? And so it's just like that constant pushing into that hard thing. That's why that's what you said earlier, something to the effect of, hey, it's going to be challenging, but we've got to go forward.
Right. And just, it's like this, it's like everyone to some degree in an area of their life has built Fort Knox, basically. And we got to get through Fort Knox. And that's where people hide. Maybe they're in the back corner of a room, or they know they're too afraid of something. So they kind of stuff that area of their life.
Yeah.
And that's where I love when the core energy coaching is what I love is getting to that, because when that area of their life, when you bring that to the light and they can shed that and be free of that ripple effect affects every area of their life. And then it affects their workplace and their family and their community.
And it spreads, doesn't it?
It spreads, and that's the whole calling of being a coach. I really believe changing one life at a time, but that's changing many lives.
It is. That
people can actually live optimal and be in their calling and their fullest potential and be comfortable in their own skin and have peace and joy in their life, even through their hard things. It's that peace in the circumstance. We're not taught that.
No, we're not. It's almost like we're taught, and I can't put my finger on exactly if this is specifically the case or just a general notion, that life is kind of a walk in the park or a sail right down the street. When if we were only taught that, hey, it will be challenging, you will be tested, then we'd at least expect it, and we wouldn't be so like, oh, this sucks or this is hard. But we're just, I love it when successful people talk about their struggles every day and their discouragement, because that's the real face of it. It's a constant pushing into that resistance. Most people, we tune that out for some reason, like selective thinking, don't we?
Sure. And people look at your life, right? Like, I'm in my dream job. I have my dream job, and people look at it and sometimes they think it looks so easy, but life is still happening for me. Yeah. I mean, I still walk in and I have to center myself and be focused and intentional, which I love to do. And that's, I want to walk in that. But I'm human. Life's happening. There's days my life's a circus, or there's, I have some other choice words, but I won't use them. But it's a process. We're on a journey. And that's the beauty of this. So I just kind of come alongside all my clients, and we're basically in it together. And it's a choice on what we want to do with it. And and when you find this, life is exciting. Like, I'm excited. I wake up excited. Okay, so things are not going right. Okay, what's so exciting is how is it going to unfold? And we'll be, and our thoughts are huge to the result of that.
Yeah. And like you said, once you realize that there is all the power is within us to make the changes, that is exciting. Yes. And I can see people I'm sure you just see your clients beam one by one as they get this understanding.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, I've seen a lot of tears of joy in my office, tears of pain, but tears of joy too, just like, wow.
Well, I think for some, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, even for myself, when, I mean, life's still happening for me. It always does, right? While we're here on
Yeah.
earth. But I just remember so many painful things in my life that I let define me, and they just don't. And I'm free. It's like somebody, it's just like breaking the chains.
It is. I think a lot of times those tears of joy are kind of uh, tears of, well, how could I be that silly as to let that rule me, right? Whatever belief or
Hmm.
thought, that
Sure.
to that resist that letting go of it.
Yeah, and it's to stop buying in. We've got to stop buying in, and we've got to teach our kids. I mean, look at the bullying today. I mean, I could go on many subjects,
Yeah.
but we have to stop buying into the toxic energy and the negative.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. And like we were talking about earlier, that the majority of the world seems to have that. And when we tune it out, we're kind of the odd person out, aren't we? And but there's a shift.
Yes.
There's definitely a shift. It feels like, because people, I think, are sick of
Yes.
they're sick of living in that consciousness. And there is a raising. Everyone wants to feel better, don't they?
Yes. Yes, I think, and that's what is nice, that we're starting to see that more and more. People are taking the lead of their life,
Yeah.
and they are making that shift, and they're looking for answers, which is so important. And understanding that self discipline,
Yeah.
it can be very hard, but that's the reward. The self discipline
It's
one.
true. Yeah. Well, I was going to
Go
say that
ahead.
that's where you're right. That's where it all
Hmm.
comes down to. Um, the other day,
Hmm.
I don't. There's this gentleman online. He actually is a strength coach, and he wrote this article years ago, and
Hmm.
he basically said that, hey, self discipline is really love, and I look at it as tough love in some sense. I mean, you got to do
Hmm.
the hard things, which I'm talking more on the internal work, the hard things, to get the real good rewards. And when you look at it as love, it's a different perspective, and I really like the take that he did on it. His name is Strength Sensei. But so you tell your clients that too, that hey, the
Okay.
self discipline is key.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's what's so exciting too about being a coach, right? It's about being transparent, authentic, and truthful, and just there it is, black and white, And when people, that's why in my coaching too, I have people commit to a minimum of 3 months, because it just doesn't happen in one session.
I agree. Yeah,
You have to commit, because self-discipline, that's that whole thing we're talking about, muscles. It's like working out too, right? It's a workout. And then it becomes a part of your life and a part of who you are. And it becomes internal in you. And you talked earlier about internal fortitude, and then it becomes habitual.
yeah.
But you have to work at that. That has to become a part of you. It's like every day getting up and I make my green shake. Well, if I do it every single day, it's just second nature
Yeah.
now.
Well, and I think a lot of people want that. We live in a world that somehow there's a lot of quick fixes out there, or supposedly quick fixes. And they come to coaching, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure, and say, well, I just want the
Yeah.
quick, where's the pill or the magic bullet, right?
Yeah. Mm-mm. And then it's
Yeah.
not sustainable. That's the difference. Like, this is coaching that I do, core energy coaching is so inside out, right? It's creating the life you've always dreamed about inside you, but we have to get to the core to find out what's keeping you stuck.
I love that, and
Mm-hmm.
I think people, again, back to this notion of life's supposed to be easy, or I can just pick up a few things here or do some fine tuning. It seems like the real benefits come from, like you said, practicing that every day, or doing the thing consistently to get good in different situations and different varieties. But people sometimes they don't see that side of it, do they? The practice.
No, and I have found, for me, what really works for me too, one of the things is I am intentional too and aware about
Mm.
what I allow in my mind.
Yeah, I love that.
So what I'm reading, what I don't spend a lot of time in negative conversation, or it's very important that I'm filling myself with the good foods, which are, when it's our mind stuff, the positive, the anabolic words, and how I speak is important, and how I listen to people. It's what I listen to at the same time, and what are my eyes seeing all the time. It's
Yeah.
everything. So that for me is huge. That self discipline, because where am I spending my time and energy?
Yeah. Yeah, because it all goes into the pot, doesn't it, that we kind of consume.
Hmm. And a lot of people,
Wow.
many people, I should say, right? They don't realize, wow, however I show up in my life, this is something that is a powerful tool. Is I think people have bought into that we compartmentalize and we do. But really, I'll be coaching people. They'll say, well, this is how I show up at work. Everything's fine at work, but at home or vice versa or something. And when I challenge them that you're showing up, if you're showing up this way here, you're showing up everywhere like that.
I like that. Yeah. Yeah. Because there's like this core person that we are, and it's all connected, isn't it?
It's all connected, but we're not taught that, right? We're taught we're not really doing that, but we are doing that.
Yeah. You're right. That is a powerful perspective to have for sure. I love that.
Because then when you challenge people about leading, how do you want to lead your life? Well, I want to be who I am exactly at home behind closed doors and who I am when I walk out the door.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I love that. I love that whole notion of leading, like you talk about, because, and the way that you frame it is we're leading our own life. We're forging down the road, going to the destination. I really like that perspective. And I imagine that resonates with your clients really well.
Yes. Because when they show up, Mark, and they commit, and I tell them, congratulations that you've decided to take the lead of your life.
Yeah. Well, and to that point, it seems like, and I know this has been in my own experience, coming up through the education system and just our society and culture, we're not taught how to be leaders, are we? We're taught how to be followers. And that's why I think what you're doing is really powerful, because ultimately we all have to lead our own personal life. And I really love that you do that, because for me, that was a huge transition to like step out and give myself permission to lead my life. And because it's just, I'm more of I did what I was told in school. I'm a follower kind of the thing, the student that sat there with their hands folded, like waiting for the instructions, right? But it just doesn't get the job done. Ultimately, there's only a limit to how far that'll go. And as soon as the structures that have broken down, that are always breaking down in our society, as soon as they start to crumble and there's no one left to lead, it's like, well, what do you do now, right?
Right. And that's what's happening to our society too. If we have everyone, following and not taking the lead of their own life, and even understanding that they're a leader, right? People are getting defined because they don't have the powerful position that they're not a leader. Well, yes, they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And they shrink back. No, we're all leading. We're all called to lead, and we all have a unique gift, and every life matters.
Wow.
And when people know that, every life matters.
It does.
And I'm so committed. I'm committed to that. So every person that crosses my path, I know there's a purpose in it, and there's a reason why. And anyone that comes to my practice, I know that they are uniquely called and they have a specific gift, and I want to help them step into it.
I love that. Michelle, that's awesome. So talk about the future. What projects or things are you going to be that are in the pipeline for your business moving forward, either short term or long term?
Okay. Well, real quick, just because I'm coming out of so much challenges, one thing I wanted to mention before I go into that, Mark, too, is like, just to encourage like your listeners too. I have found myself in a well at a time where there was no light or ladder. And, I have found the light and I found the ladder, but I'm just like everybody else. But I have found the light and ladder, and I'm moving forward. So I want to encourage people that feel so stuck in their life that it's there for them. It's making that first step to getting intentional. What I have in short term right now is I am co-hosting a television show out of Santa Barbara called The Game Changer.
Ooh, I love that name.
And so my co-host is Kurt Pickering, and he is a wonderful man. He's a scout actually for the NBA, the Indiana Pacers. And it's amazing how that showed up for me, but it's a show of inspiration and it's a show of critical thinking. And we have guests on that, what's a game changer in their life, and are they a game changer? So we want to encourage and inspire people. And then I'll be doing, talking about my coaching and all that. But most of it's about to inspire people, to give people a voice, to come on and tell their story.
I love that. Sounds like a great venue and a great positive message to the world. I love that.
Yes, and more people need to be encouraged like you do, empowering people and interviewing people, and you're just that's your gift and you're so good at it.
Thank you.
It's giving people a voice and a gift and empowering people. That's what we need to do. We need to humble ourselves and raise people up and not be, many people don't want to do that. And
no,
we need to get out there and do that.
Yeah. One of the things to that point that I just want to touch on is, I like that you said that, because sometimes I think that we don't know who the individual is that we might empower and what they might do for the world that would really benefit masses of people. And if we don't, give them a tool or even something so simple as, like you said, encouragement or inspiration, that they may blossom and bloom, we just don't know how much we're connected to one another and who might do amazing things for the whole world. So I think that's it's mind-blowing, to be honest.
Yes. And when we can show up, I try to instill in my children too. I drop them off at school. Love you guys. Have a great day. Remember, you're here to serve and not be served.
That's such a great message. That's great.
Because the more we encourage others and gird them up and empower them, that just does the same. That does for us. I love that was something else they used to say. How do you get what you want in life? Is help somebody else get what they want in life. And the power behind that, there's nothing more rewarding when you help somebody else.
I agree. Well, and you touched on that earlier too, with your coaching. It becomes a win-win, a little bit counterintuitive when you go into it, but once you get in and you see it, it's like, whoa.
Yes.
I love that. So, okay. So the show, and so you're kind of getting the sounds like you're getting the wheels spinning again and back on the track after after this past year. That's a great start. That show sounds awesome. I'm definitely going to link to it in the show notes to this show.
Yes. And so it's exciting. It's brand new. So we're working on it and we're still figuring it all out, but we've done a few shows with some amazing people, and
oh, great.
It's powerful. And so I'm just dedicated into helping people become optimal in their life.
I can definitely tell that too.
And it comes from so much of my own pain and trials, so much trials and tribulations.
Well, it sounds like it. And so that, would you say that drives you to a certain degree? I mean, your own.
Yeah, I'm so passionate because I really feel that was my calling. Like when you asked are you in your purpose? I am in my purpose because it is so fun. It's so fun and it's easy. It's easy to serve and to help and champion and encourage and to inspire and to motivate. And the more I fill my toolbox, I just want to give it away and give it away and give it away.
I can tell. Well, I definitely, I sense in you that there are a lot of, I want to say, products or books or things that, will come out or want to come out given when the right time is, because you do have that high capacity to serve. I just sense like this flood of stuff in alignment with the co-hosting and stuff like that can just push out, that wants to come out.
I think so. I think a book for sure is in the future. There'll be lots of more tools and things that we'll have, especially I will. It's just unfolding too. Things are showing up, and my calling too is I'm walking through my own things too.
Yeah. Well, like you said, that makes you a better coach ultimately.
Yes. I mean, I'm humbly confident in it.
I love that. So in addition to, I will link to your website, but are there any other channels or ways that you would want people to contact you that are interested in your coaching and getting in touch? How would you prefer people get in touch with you?
They can go to my website and they can email me. My number's on there. Right now, that's probably the best way.
Okay. Okay, I will mention that in the show notes, as well as obviously sharing that with the folks here. Well, Michelle, I thoroughly enjoyed chatting with you. This has been hugely beneficial.
Thanks, Mark. I really enjoyed it, and I really appreciate you having me on, and continue to pour into your audience.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, and we'll close up there. Well, what'd you think? Pretty great, huh? As you can probably imagine, I'll definitely be reaching out to Michelle again and asking her to come back on the show and share more of her knowledge and wisdom about coaching and her professional experience with us, because I really get the sense that we're just kind of scratching the surface about what Michelle can teach us, what we can learn from her about enhancing the human experience. The other thing I want to do before we wrap up the episode is I want to share with you Michelle's website and how you can get in touch with her if you're interested in her coaching. Her website is unlockyourdestiny.com, and I'll put links to that in the show notes for this episode on my website, gmarkphillips.com. You can also contact Michelle via phone. Her phone number is on the website, unlockyourdestiny.com. The other thing I want to say is that If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel and want access to these interviews, that's really easy to search. They're all there. You can do so at youtube.com/gmarkphillips. The reality is that it's really easier to search there than it is on my website for these interviews because of just the way YouTube is set up, right? It's very visual. You can look at all of them. You can see them all in one place as opposed to searching on the website. I find it's easier to look at the interviews on YouTube than it is on my website. So if you're interested, you can subscribe to my channel at youtube.com/gmarkphillips and get all these interviews, including the one today with Michelle. All right. That's the show. We'll wrap it up at that point. Until next time, all the best, health, wealth, and success. Bye-bye.